Namaskar, good afternoon. As you can imagine, today is the anniversary of 1 year of Prime Minister Modi's third government, and it is important for us to assess how this government has fared both in the last 1 year and overall in the last 11 years as well. Some of you would know that I, prior to becoming a Member of Parliament, was a professor at IIM Bangalore. One of the things that professors are good at is assessing the performance of typically students, but also of governments. And what we have done, as I'm also chair of the AICC Research Department, and we have looked at the promises that have continuously been made by Modi Sarkar, and of course, the document that they just released, which I have here a small version of this, the 11 Saal Seva Sushasan Garib Kalyan ke 11 Saal. So, Viksit Bharat ka Amrit Kal, the usual slogans and dialogues. Anyway, good afternoon. I'm Professor Rajeev Gowda, Chair, AICC Research Department. I'm joined by Advocate Mahima Singh. I will be speaking to you in English, and we will be releasing 2 sets of documents with tremendous amount of detail for you. In order that we do not repeat each other, I will cover some of the highlights in English, and Mahima ji will cover some of the highlights in Hindi, but we will not repeat the same points. There are lots and lots of points to cover. Anyway, the first point that we want to make is that we have 2 sets of documents for you. This document, Ek Aur Baar Jumla Sarkar, basically looks at the promises that were made in the 2024 manifesto of the BJP, plus other kinds of promises and statements that they've been making over time. And this document, 11 Saal Jhute Vikas Ke Waade, is a detailed expose of the hollow promises, of the hollow track record, of the false statements that are highlighted in the BJP's report card that was just released. So what are we talking about? Well, if you take a look at this 11 Saal document of the BJP, one of the first themes that they highlight is about taking care of the poor and the marginalized. They are very happy that 81 crore people are getting free fruit grains under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. We are also happy that those who are otherwise deprived of food are getting some relief. But the basic point of hunger is a much larger crisis in India. And this crisis puts us at 105 out of 127 countries in the World Hunger Index. Now, what is the implication? Well, look at what this does to the children of India. Malnutrition is affecting our children in a very horrible way, crippling their growth and their future possibilities. Stunting, which is low height for their age, is at 35.5%. Wasting, which is low weight for height, is at 19.3%, and underweight is at 32.1%. That is, nearly a third of Indian children are suffering from malnutrition in this day and age when they talk about Viksit Bharat. Let us remind the Prime Minister that he has a duty to our children and their futures. They make another claim that they have created 4 times the Ekalavya residential schools since 2014. They've announced 700 plus schools, out of which 300 are still non-functional. Is it rocket science to set up and run a school? Especially when you are crowing about what you are doing for underprivileged communities and our tribals and Adivasis. Now, in terms of defense, one of the claims is that over 5,000 items have been added to the indigenization list. Well, sadly, 40% of the items listed for indigenization have not been indigenized as of now. India remains one of the top importers of defense rather than a producer and an exporter. If you look at mission mode DRDO projects, 23 out of 55 have been delayed. And the share of R&D, today you're seeing that there is a lot of production that comes after R&D. What is the share of R&D in our defense budget? It's only 5.45%. Another claim that is constantly made. I'm also an economist, so I can tell you a little bit about this. One of the claims that is made is that we're the fastest growing large economy. Yes, that is true, but what rate are we growing? Are we able to encash a demographic dividend? Any economist will tell you that if we grow below 8.5% a year, we are sacrificing the future of crores and crores of our youngsters because we will not have enough growth and jobs and opportunities that are required to just provide the jobs that the great Jumla, 2 crore jobs per year, would be to fulfill that. And our growth is 6.5% over the last year. This is the lowest rate after the COVID period. So what is happening? What is happening in this 11th year of your Sarkar, Prime Minister Modi? And what is happening is reflected in the response of the private sector. Is the Indian private sector investing in India? If you look at investment figures, after you gave them that bonanza tax cut, nothing changed. They still do not have confidence in your management of the economy to invest, to put their paisa, their rupees, where they should be putting it in India. Capital investment, fixed capital formation has come down to 32.4%, which is a 11-year low, that is in financial year 24. And remember this, there is another legacy of Modi Sarkar, which is on the economic front, glaring and worsening inequality. What is the share of the wealth of India, which is in the hands of the top 1%? 40% of India's wealth is captured by the top 1% of Indians, and the bottom 50% of Indians have to make do over with what? Just a little more than 3%. This is not the sort of economy we want, and until you fix this, you're not going to unleash the raw economic power that India inherently has. Then, of course, another great claim is about the Udan scheme, the ease of living for middle-class India for Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. What is the reality of Udan? More than 50% of approved routes never took off by 2023. Of the 619 routes under the Udan scheme, only 323 are operational. Out of the 4,500 crores spent, Udan is still struggling to fly. One last point I want to make, a point very, very dear to all our hearts, is about our environment, about sustainability, about preparing for climate change. The claim is that Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, 142 plus crore trees have been planted. The sad reality is that India has seen the highest tree cover loss under the BJP government. In 2017, 1.89 lakh hectares, the highest, took place under this government. 1.75 lakh hectares in 2016, 1.44 lakh hectares in 2023, the worst in the last 6 years. The 5 northeastern states were responsible for 60% of India's total tree cover loss in the last 2 decades. And one of the things that this government is very good at, diverting forest land for non-forest uses, especially for mining projects of their own cronies. 1.73 lakh hectares of forest land between 2014 to 2024 have been diverted for infrastructure projects. What I have given you are just the highlights. In the detailed projects, in these detailed reports, you will, in this report on Jumla Sarkar, Promises versus Reality, we have the headlines, some of which are broader than what is there in this document, which is a counter to the highlights of this document. In this rebuttal, like the research department always does, we have also provided footnotes on where we've got this data. So you can cross-verify, you can do your own fact checks, but the truth is something that we request you to put out there, because otherwise, the one thing this government has been good at is propaganda and fake news. They are number one in that. It is our job as a responsible opposition to make sure that the people of India know the grim reality.